You know that moment Luffy lands the final blow on Katakuri and they both collapse? That's not just a fight, that's perfection. It's not about power scaling or flashy moves. It's about arcs of build-up, emotions that hit like a gut punch, and animation so clean it feels unreal. Most fans miss this. The best fights in One Piece and Hunter x Hunter don't just look good, they mean something. So I'm breaking down 10 that turned combat into pure storytelling. Let's start with number 10. And we're kicking it off with Hunter x Hunter because this fight set the standard for everything that came after. Gon versus Hisoka in Heaven's Arena is where Togashi showed us that tactical brilliance beats raw power every single time. The build-up here isn't about revenge or saving the world. It's about a kid who refuses to give up against someone who could end him without even breaking a sweat. But watch how the animation handles Gon's determination. Every punch he throws, every time he backs up, you can see his growth happening in real time. The way they animate Hisoka's twisted pleasure, mixed with genuine respect, creates this uncomfortable tension that makes you root for Gon, even though you know he's outclassed. Family, it was magic. Number 9 takes us to Alabasta with Zoro versus Mr. One. And family, this fight is criminally underrated. The emotional stakes here hit different because this is Zoro's first real test of his dream to become the world's greatest swordsman. He's facing an opponent who can turn his entire body into blades, and Zoro's swords are useless. But the animation during that moment when he learns to cut steel, the way they slow everything down and you can see the realization in his eyes, that's not just character development, that's visual storytelling at its peak, and it's unforgettable. Number 8 brings us back to Hunter x Hunter with Kurapika versus Uvojin, and this is where the York New arc proved that revenge stories can be beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The build-up spans generation with the Kurta clan massacre, but the animation of Kurapika's chains and those scarlet eyes, burning with pure hatred, creates this visual poetry that makes you feel his pain. You're not just watching a fight end, you're watching justice being served with surgical precision. The chef's kiss. Number 7 takes us back to where it all started with Luffy versus Arlong in East Blue. After 1,000 plus episodes, this fight still hits harder than most because the emotional weight is so pure. Nami's tears, Luffy's promise, and that moment when Luffy destroys Arlong Park room by room. The animation might not have the budget of later arcs, but the raw emotion in every punch Luffy throws makes up for it. This is where One Piece proved that the best fights aren't about power levels, they're about protecting the people you love. And it still gives me chills. Number 6 is the classic Nitro versus Miram from the Chimera Ant arc. And family, this is where Hunter x Hunter became philosophical art. The build-up is the entire arc leading to this moment where humanity's strongest fighter faces evolution itself. But watch how they animate Niro's 100 type attack. Every strike is animated like a prayer. Every movement has weight and purpose. This isn't just a fight, it's a meditation on what it means to be human when facing something beyond human comprehension. And the surprise end to the fight must have been written by God's hand because wow. But family, those fights were just warming us up for the absolute chaos coming next. Number 5 is where One Piece decided to break the internet with Luffy versus Doflamingo in Dressrosa. The build-up here spans the entire arc with Doflamingo manipulating an entire kingdom like his personal puppet show. But when Luffy finally unleashes Gear 4 for the first time, the animation team went absolutely insane. That King Kong gun sequence isn't just a finishing move. It's a declaration that One Piece was ready to compete with any anime in terms of pure visual spectacle. The way they animate Luffy's rubber body inflating to impossible proportions, while maintaining that sense of weight and impact, that's technical mastery combined with creative madness. Number 4 brings us back to Hunter x Hunter with Zeno and Silva versus Crollo. And family, this is where we see what legendary assassins actually look like when they stop holding back. The build-up spans the entire York New arc, with hints about the Zoldyck family's reputation. But when these two finally corner Crollo, the animation becomes pure liquid violence. Watch how they animate Zeno's dragon dive raining down like divine judgment. while Silva moves with terrifying precision that makes every step look calculated to kill. This isn't just a fight, it's a masterclass in how to animate speed and power without losing the audience in a blur of motion. And I'm talking about you, Solo Leveling. Number 3 takes us to the moment that traumatized an entire fan base with Gon versus Pitou, and that Adult Gon transformation. The emotional buildup starts with Kite's death and follows Gon's descent into pure unfiltered rage. But the animation of his transformation sequence is what makes this legendary. Madhouse didn't animate a power-up, they animated a mental breakdown in real time. The way his body stretches and grows while his face becomes this mask of cold fury creates visceral horror that makes you realize you're not watching a hero anymore. You're watching a child sacrifice everything for revenge. And the animation team made sure you feel every second of that loss. Number 2 is where One Piece redefined what the series could be with Luffy versus Kaido and the Gear 5 debut in Wano. The build-up for this moment spans decades of hints about the true nature of Luffy's devil fruit. And when that reveal finally drops, the animation team threw out every rule they'd established. Suddenly, One Piece became this reality-bending cartoon where Luffy can grab lightning and turn the ground into rubber. The way they blend that classic cartoon aesthetic with the brutal stakes of a Yonko battle creates this tonal whiplash that somehow works perfectly. This fight didn't just change Luffy, it changed what One Piece could be as a visual medium. But here's what separates these elite tier fights with everything below them. It's not the animation budget or the emotional stakes, though both are crucial. It's how they manage to innovate while staying true to the core of their characters. Doflamingo vs. Luffy showed us Gear 4 could be both ridiculous and terrifying. Zeno and Silva vs. Crollo proved that family teamwork could be absolutely terrifying. Adult Gon vs. Pitou demonstrated that character development doesn't always mean growth. Sometimes it means destruction. And Gear 5 Luffy vs. Kaido proved that One Piece could reinvent itself after 25 years without losing its soul. These fights also share something else that makes them untouchable. They all feature moments where the animation style shifts to match the emotional intensity. Gear 4's bouncy, almost playful movement contrasting with its devastating power. The surgical precision of the Zoldyck assassination techniques creating this beautiful, deadly dance. The horrifying fluidity of Gon's transformation, making every frame feel wrong in the best possible way. And Gear 5's cartoonish physics breaking reality itself to show us Luffy's true form. The other thing these fights nail is pacing. Each one builds to multiple climaxes instead of just one big finish. Doflamingo keeps getting up until that final King Kong gun. Zeno and Silva coordinate their attacks like they've been hunting together for decades. Because they have. Gon's transformation is just the beginning of his emotional destruction. And Luffy vs. Kaido spans multiple episodes because Gear 5 needed time to show us everything it could do. But the number 1 spot belongs to the fight that changed everything. Luffy vs. Katakuri is untouchable, and I'll tell you exactly why. This fight represents everything that makes One Piece legendary wrapped into one perfect package that spans multiple episodes and never loses steam. The build-up starts the moment Luffy steps into the mirror world, but really it goes back to every moment he struggled to master his haki throughout the new world. Katakuri isn't just another strong opponent, he's everything Luffy could become if he was born in a different life. The animation shows this through every exchange. Watch how they mirror each other's movements. How Katakuri's future sight creates this dance where he's always one step ahead until suddenly he isn't. The way they animate Luffy's gradual improvement throughout the fight, showing his observation haki developing in real time, creates this visual story of growth that most anime could never pull off. But what makes this fight the undisputed champion is how it balances brutal action with genuine respect between both opponents. The mirror world setting creates this intimate personal space where two warriors can push each other to their absolute limits. When Katakuri finally falls on his back for the first time in his life, the animation captures both his defeat and his liberation. This isn't just Luffy winning a fight, it's two men recognizing each other as equals. The emotional buildup spanning entire arcs pays off in every frame. Every technique Luffy uses, every moment of determination, every time he gets back up connects back to every lesson he's learned since entering the new world. The animation evolution throughout the fight shows us Luffy's growth happening before our eyes. And by the end, you realize you've watched someone become worthy of being Pirate King. Don Turbo Granny chase scene breaks every camera rule ever written. One Punch Man Saitama punches reality in half. 2 shows and 10 moments where animators completely lost their minds. So let's break down this madness. Number 10 goes to One Punch Man with Saitama versus Geno sparring. This looks simple, but the genius is what they don't show. Saitama's serious punch never connects, but the wind pressure alone destroys mountains behind Genos. His cape doesn't even flutter while everything around him explodes. That contrast between casual power and total destruction hits harder than any impact could. You feel the ridiculous gap in their strength without anyone saying a word. It's terrifying and ridiculous at the same time. Number 9 brings us to Don with Okarun's first transformation. His body stretches and melts like old cartoon characters, but something feels wrong about it. You're laughing at body horror that should terrify you. The animators made his face melt and reform while keeping just enough human features to make us uncomfortable. That balance between disturbing and funny shouldn't work, but it does. Your brain can't decide if you should laugh or look away. It's like watching a nightmare that thinks it's a comedy. Number 8 goes back to One Punch Man for the Deep Sea King Rain fight. The rain becomes a character that responds to emotions. Heavy downpour during sad moments, lighter drops during fights, complete stillness before big impacts. The environment literally matches the story's mood, making every punch feel heavier and every dramatic moment hit harder. When heroes fall, the rain feels like tears. When they get back up, it lightens to give you hope. You're not watching a fight, you're watching the weather tell you a story. Number 7 takes us to Don Serpo alien abduction sequence, where reality stops making sense. The camera angles make you dizzy just watching. The aliens floating glide in perfect formation, while the background shifts between real locations and abstract space. You're watching a fever dream that feels authentically alien, not just weird. Your eyes can't find anything normal to focus on. Everything moves like you're underwater while awake. It's the closest animation has ever come to making you feel genuinely abducted. Number 6 brings us back to One Punch Man with Boro's ship bombardment. The scale is massive. You feel the destruction from street level and space simultaneously. Each explosion has its own personality, some sharp and quick, others slow and rolling. Every blast looks different, keeping your eyes glued to the screen while debris flies in beautiful arcs. The destruction feels both terrible and gorgeous. You're horrified by the damage but can't stop watching because it's so perfectly animated. It's like staring at the most beautiful disaster you've ever seen. Number 5 goes to Don's Turbo Granny tunnel chase. This sequence breaks every rule about how cameras should move. The perspective shifts from first person to third person to impossible angles that put you inside the action and outside it simultaneously. Watch how the speed lines don't just show movement, they warp reality around the characters. The tunnel walls stretch and compress, while Turbo Granny moves so fast she becomes pure energy. The animators created motion that your brain can't process normally, so you feel the chaos instead of just seeing it. Number 4 brings us back to One Punch Man with Saitama versus Boro's final clash. That planet's surface punch burns into your memory forever. The moment of contact shows from multiple angles in seconds, revealing the impossible force involved. But the real genius is the aftermath. The planet's surface ripples like water while staying solid. Rock behaves like liquid before snapping back to normal. That combination creates visual poetry that hits harder than any explosion. You feel the power in your chest. It's the kind of punch that makes you understand why Saitama is bored with everything else. Number 3 takes us to Don's Momo Psychic Awakening. Her psychic energy bends light in space like reality is glitching. Angry moments create sharp, jagged lines in aggressive reds. Focused moments flow in calm blues and purples. Confused states spiral in clashing colors that make you dizzy. You're reading her emotions through pure visual language without needing any words. When she's scared, the colors shake. When she's determined, they burn bright. It's like watching someone's feelings painted in the air around them. Number 2 goes to One Punch Man's Garu versus Heroes fight. This sequence flows for over 3 minutes without any jarring cuts. Every punch, kick, and dodge connects naturally to the next movement. The choreography works like combat ballet where every step matters. Garu evolves his fighting style mid-combat. Early on, he's stiff and calculated. By the end, he's flowing like water between attacks. You watch him transform through pure movement. It's like seeing someone learn to dance while fighting for their life. The rhythm builds until you're holding your breath. And number 1 goes to Dandadan's Turbo Granny versus Akarun final battle. This fight sequence shows what happens when animators throw out every rule and create something completely new. The entire battle takes place in a twisted version of reality where physics doesn't matter. But here's what makes it number 1. Okarun fights back in his own unique way, and the animation shows 2 different types of madness clashing. His movements are awkward and desperate, while hers are smooth and deadly. The contrast makes you root for the underdog while being amazed by the villain. That level of visual chaos mixed with perfect storytelling is pure animation mastery. Now both shows prove animation becomes art when studios stop playing it safe. Dandadan experiments with reality itself, creating new visual language that expands what animation can do. One Punch Man perfects traditional techniques, pushing realistic physics to impossible extremes that feel completely natural. Different approaches, same result. Pure visual insanity that stays burned in your memory forever. So drop a comment with your favorite animated moment from either show. Have you ever cuddled up underneath a blanket during spooky season and thought to yourself, what terrifying anime could I turn on? Well, today, I'm presenting you with 10 of the most visually and psychologically terrifying animes. And trust me, the last few will have you sleeping with the lights on. Number 10. This anime is bound to put the fear of God in you as you jump from twisted story to twisted story. And this comes from the legend himself, Junji Ito. Family, this one does not hold back. From the very beginning of episode 1, you get the vibe that this is something special. And by the time you get near the end of the episode, it becomes absolutely terrifying. Now, I will admit that eating something while watching this one may not be a good idea, because the animators did a phenomenal job in creating some of the most grotesque scenes you'll see in a long time. But the real magic is how eerie every single setting feels, and how you're constantly on edge due to the unexpected nature. So the Junji Ito collection is one you should watch with some friends. Number 9. Family, this is one of the ones you can't watch in front of people who don't understand anime, because it's full of those things that make people side-eye you. But trust me when I say that you'll enjoy every single minute of it, because this particular series has an incredible way of showing you some of the most horrific scenes, while also building up the main character as something scary and otherworldly. And it makes sense when you realize that he's a vampire who has gained power that only a few could imagine. But one of the most interesting aspects is how his power is displayed from episode to episode, and how strange he is morally. Because you really start to think, is this a good guy or a villain? Also, the animation is extremely fluid and stylistic, so you do get that spooky season feel from it. Furthermore, you do fall in love with the supporting characters, especially the cop who gets put into awkward positions constantly. But this is one you should dive into with someone who's okay with seeing a little blood every now and then. But for God's sakes, please don't show them as your starter, because it'll probably be the last time this person ever comes to your place. So make sure you add Hellsing Ultimate to your watch list. Number 8. Family, if there was ever a series that set a tone for what's to come, it's definitely this one. I mean, from the very first frame, your mouth drops. And good luck picking it up as the series continues, because this absolutely twisted tale follows a kid who moves to a new town and makes friends with these cute, lovable girls. But their cute demeanor quickly starts to change as the main character starts to ask one too many questions. And the way it's depicted is straight up jump scares, or at least one of those things that make you sit up with your eyebrows down, because everything starts to be unsettling. But to add fuel to the fire, this poor man gets put through the ringer, and your mental state while watching this series starts to descend into pure hellish chaos. And the funny part is they continue to use a cute art style, so visually, every scene is impactful. And that's why I would recommend you watching it with a large group of friends, because not only is it scary, it starts interesting conversations, especially how you would react to these experiences. So Higurashi is a must during spooky season. Number 7. My brother and sisters, this one here went from manga to anime to a live action. And you know, if it made my anime list, it's definitely something special. But besides that, this show follows a group of people who ended up in an empty Tokyo. And to survive, they have to play a set of games, which get more and more diabolical as it goes on. But the real magic is how close this resembles traditional anime, from the story arcs all the way to the characters. I mean, for God's sakes, they even have a version of Killua, but you and your friends will have a very good time trying to solve all the puzzles that are being thrown at you. Or you'll probably just be grossed out by how brutal the games are. And don't worry, this is not one of those shows that got canceled. This is a completely flushed out story. One that everyone can sit around and enjoy together. Just make sure you don't fall into the rabbit hole of discussing what you would do in those situations, because it will definitely test some friendships. So make sure you check out Alice in Borderlands. Number 6 is a story of two girls who frequently travel to a different world. But instead of it being whimsical and beautiful, it is full of hideous creatures who want nothing more than to taste your lovely flesh. But their motivation for constantly taking this trip is hinged on friendship and finding a missing person. So the dynamic itself already makes you uncomfortable, because you feel like one person doesn't really want to be there. But some of the best parts of this anime are the jump scares, which I can promise come in abundance. And may I add that the elevator scenes are pure nightmare fuel, and definitely something you would not see me doing. Also, the series is full of misdirections, which will keep you and your friends on your toes the entire time, because it's impossible to guess what's happening from minute to minute. And I will add that they do have a cool way of making everybody lovable, especially the main character. So if you're down to cuddle underneath the blanket with somebody, make sure you check out Other Side Picnic. Number 5. What would you do if you had the power to send anyone you want to hell, and all you had to do was say the word? Well, this is exactly what we get in this anime, as people are positioned to make a choice against the people they hate the most. And this anime doesn't rely on jump scares, because its bread and butter is tension, especially when you watch each person being socially tortured, and in some cases basically removed from society, which eventually leads to them having to make the decision of sending their enemies to a horrible place. And I'm going to tell you the truth, as you watch some of these episodes, you start to feel sorry for every single person, to the point that you think, man, maybe they do deserve this. But you know it wouldn't be a great anime if it didn't have a twist. So no matter how much you justify some of these decisions, something always surprises you near the end of each episode. And it leaves you staring up at your ceiling thinking, oh my god, what did I just watch? As you quickly sit back up to start another episode. Now I will say the artwork is a bit simple in this one, but the story is definitely something you're going to enjoy. So make sure you add Hell Girl if you're brave. Number 4 is about a young lady who wakes up in a strange building that has multiple floors. And from the very moment it starts, you quickly realize that this is going to be hell for her. And sure enough, they proceed to introduce you to uncut terror, as this poor girl is pursued by everybody. But unlike some of the other ones on this list, this one has more of a friendly vibe, even though it's built to be spooky. And one of the most interesting parts about this entire series are the villains and their strange personalities. So it's one of the rare ones that I can actually say is okay to watch with friends and family. But be warned, Angel of Death is a little bloody. Number 3 is an anime where we follow a girl in one of the most apocalyptic settings, and the main theme is her guarding an egg. But what makes this one scary is how hopeless everything seems, and how it mirrors our society. It's as if you're trapped in a nightmare, and even though you're not getting different types of jump scares, you get a sick feeling at the bottom of your stomach. Now there's not a lot of talking in this film, but the symbolism will leave everyone in your group talking for weeks. Plus, the icing on the cake is the master level animation, 4K remastering, and direction. So immediately put on your thinking cap and check out Angel's Egg. Number 2. Now this classic anime movie hits home immediately, because you won't find anything that paints our society as celebrity crazy better than this one. Family, in this film, we follow a young lady who is part of a pop group who decides to pivot careers, and in doing so triggers some of the scariest chain of events. from stalkers all the way to creepy fans. But what you'll love the most is how tension is constantly building. And in some parts you barely have a moment to breathe, because it's just that intense. But I will say that it's a pretty mature film, so you better be ready to see some wild stuff. And that's why Perfect Blue makes the list. Number 1 is definitely the anime that'll have your hair standing up. I'm talking back of the neck with goosebumps. Because it's like the director bottled up some terror when they created this story where we follow a kid who moves into a new town, which is technically the town he was born in, but finds himself in a class that is rumored to be cursed. And what makes this so terrifying is the fact that the situation could somewhat be solved if everyone would share information. But this is one of the ones that make you want to pull your hair out, because you see this creature constantly getting closer and closer. And it makes you want to sit up and scream, run, or at least slap some sense into the main character. Also, they didn't go cheap on the animation, because this thing is absolutely beautiful. From the blood splatter, all the way to the fluid movement of the characters. Plus, the soundtrack is constantly building tension and keeping you on edge. So if it's spooky season or you and your friends just want a scare, make sure you catch Another or any of the other ones on this list. And when you're done doing that, click on this special video I made for all of you about why having a devil fruit power would suck in real life. And I will see you on the very next video.